and gentlemen, this is Liam Catterson here, but you already knew that. And today we're going to be reviewing the first series of Class, and like I said yesterday, when I published my final episode reaction to Class, I'll be doing a review. There we go, there's my first screw up of the day. And yes, this is going to discover what was great about Class, what was bad about Class, and what I am expecting for Series 2. Of course, there is a spoiler warning for those who have not seen Class yet. I suggest you do. It's a fantastic series. It's a fantastic filling for Doctor Who until that comes on in Christmas and then spring 2017. So let's get reviewing this first series of Class. So overall, the story of Class, I really felt it was really fun to watch. As you can tell, that I've had a lot of fun watching Class. I had a lot of fun, you know, becoming invested in the characters and the storyline. And yeah, it has really taken me by surprise about how amazing it is. I mean, there might be a few people who might think, yeah, it's not that amazing compared to what you say. No, but I felt I enjoyed it. I was, you know, compelled by everything. I think the writing was quality most of the journey. I'll go into that in a bit. But no, it's exceeded my expectations in terms of, you know, how awesome it was brought out and how great everything was. So yeah, I am hoping for a second series because I really enjoyed the first series of Class. So yeah, overall I think my favourite episode has to be the Metaphysical Engine, you know, the Quill based episode. And not because Quill was an awesome character, I mean she is, she's amazing, one hell of a badass, and Catherine Kelly really did well in that Quill based episode. But it was just a fun, interesting, you know, dynamic, I guess you could say, episode to be written. I mean, everything was so interesting about it. The quality was there, basically. It was just so amazing to watch. It was so fun. Everything was just so action-packed, emotional. You know, you felt sorry for Quill and whatnot. But no, everything was so amazing about that episode. I would say the finale, but I think that's an obvious choice as well. But no, that was an insane episode. I really loved that episode. I really loved the first episode as well. You know, I felt it was brought off to a great start, and that kind of amplified when the Doctor appeared. That was, like, we knew he was going to appear, but the time that he had being in Class, I think it was amazing. I think it was the right time. He didn't take away the focus from, you know, the main characters, but it was still a fun experience to watch him, you know, in a more adult show, because, you know, you didn't have that with Torchwood, but you had that with Sarah Jane Adventures and whatnot. So yeah, it was fun to see that, but I think it kicked off to a great start without the Doctor, and it kind of picked up from there afterwards. Now there's one part I did not like, I would say. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I think in terms of, you know, looking back at it and, you know, thinking about certain aspects of this episode, I do think the Shadowkins two-parter for episode 4 and 5, I don't know, I didn't think that they were handled that exceptionally compared to the first episode. I mean, yes, you can justify it in a way to their last appearance in the finale and whatnot, but I really thought they were threatening in episode 1, and I didn't think they were that threatening in episode. They were more like casual threats, basically, compared to episode 1, and then that kind of amplified in episode 8 as you saw them, you know, terrorising London. And, you know, I thought that the Shadowkin were a pretty interesting villain, and that will obviously be escalated next year with April now being in the Shadowkin's body and whatnot. So that'll be interesting to see where that goes from there. Should be the last of, you know, her kind, you could say, but, you know, we'll see about that next year. It should be fun. Also, in terms of, I guess, the bad bits about Class, there wasn't much, like I said, but I think, I don't know, I wasn't as invested as in the Coach with the Dragon Tattoo. All the other episodes I thought were, you know, I guess investable, you could say, but no, there wasn't really much bad I could really say about Class, because I really did enjoy it, I really loved it, and I do hope for a second series, even without the Weeping Angels. I think it's warranting second series and whatnot, but you know, that's a big plan for the series too. Will they appear in Doctor Who Series 10? It seems logical with Moffat's final year, and you know, I think it could work. I just want to see what happens with the Weeping Angels, and you know, it's going to be so fun. I think it's going to be an interesting series of Class, because it looks like they're going to become a big form of Class Series 2 if that does happen, but also Series 10 of Doctor Who. We'll see what happens, but I just can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see how April's story goes with her being the Shadowkin. Like, that was an interesting twist, because I thought she was completely done for on that, but looks like she's now part of the Shadowkin for some weird reason. And obviously Charlie's story, everyone's got some kind of, like, you know, development for Series 2, so that would be good to see. I did like how, you know, they handled the structure in this series. You know, there could be two threats going on, like in episodes 4 and 5, with the Petals and the Shadowkin, and you know, sometimes they would merge into one by the end, and that was, I think, handled well, because sometimes the focus would be drawn on one side of the coin, basically, you could say, and then the next scene it would be the next. I think they handled it really well. I don't know if anyone else feels that, but I really felt that they executed it really well, and then they merged them at the end, like I said, and I thought that was pretty good. They did the same thing with episode 6 and 7, but a more, I don't know what you could say, they did it differently, but they still did something similar. You know, when, you know, all the classmates, I guess you could say, were in detention and they were battling, you know, problems of their own with that meteor, and then you got Quill on one side, and then they merged together at the end, as you saw in the end of episode 7. And yeah, I really liked how they did that. It was like a really organised piece of storytelling, I guess you could say, because, you know, they didn't, you know, make it seem too rushed or too packed, and it didn't become a bit convoluted. It was actually a great structure, and that was one of the highlights of Class, I feel. Now, the characters, let's go on with them, because, you know what, I think the people playing the main cast, you could say, I think they played them really well. I think everyone had an amazing job. They did pretty good, and I really loved their portrayals as every character of the main cast. And yeah, I will admit that I do have my favourite with April. Obviously, that's kind of gut-wrenching to see what happened to her, and then she turned up in that Shadowkin body. Like I said, that will be interesting to see where that goes next year, but I really felt, you know, April, for example, she had a great story behind her. Obviously, what I felt with these characters, all these characters, I guess you could say, they all had some kind of tragic past and whatnot. I mean, you had April with her dad, and what her mum's consequences were following what her dad did. You had Tanya's dad who, you know, died, and, you know, that was explored in episode 3 with Beauty. Then you had Charlie and Miss Quill. You know, everyone had a tragic past as well. And, you know, the tragedy kind of amplified, I guess you could say, especially for Ram, who, you know, kind of I don't think Ram had a tragic past, I wouldn't say, but he had his fair share of tragedy through the series. You know, losing Rachel, and then in 2 episodes, basically losing the other love of his life with April, but not in a way, but also losing his dad, which was pretty crappy. You know, I really liked Ram, who, you know, he had his fair share of moments, and despite the aggressive attitude he had, he was fun to watch, and especially episode 6, like, his reactions, like, it was just priceless, and you just couldn't help but love him. I mean, yes, he was portrayed as a bit aggressive, a bit, you know, of a bother to everyone else who was, like, at times he would say, why am I hanging around with geeks for and whatnot? Yeah, like, understandable for his character, but at the end of the day, I really liked him. He was a pretty fun character to watch. Charlie was someone who I felt was a bit doctorish during the series, especially with the whole Cabinet of Souls thing. Obviously, that kind of brought you back to memories of the Time War, But, you know, like I said, Charlie was probably a delight this series. It was fun to watch. And, you know, I loved how, you know, sometimes they would throw in a bit of conflict, I guess you could say, with his character. You know, with what his, you know, decisions were with Miss Quill. But he also possessed some human elements like claustrophobia and whatnot. And obviously the LGBT thing going on with Mateus. I think they handled Charlie pretty good. I will say for Charlie as well that if Series 2 does get picked up and whatnot, it will be interesting to see what his story is going to be like. Because obviously his story about using the Cabinet of Souls and whatnot, that's complete and over and done with. But he has become the thing he hates the most, the Shadow King. It's pretty interesting. He is his own worst enemy. And, you know, that makes for a juicy story for Series 2. I liked Tanya. She was pretty awesome as a character. Like, she was the intellectual underdog, I guess you could say. She was always, you know, a bit upset that she was treated like a little sister and whatnot, but she was a helpful, you know, assisting character. I think she was a great character. I can't wait to see if Series 2 picks up and whatnot. I can't wait to see, you know, more of her progression and whatnot. Especially since, you know, Miss Quill was training with her in the final episode. I think that could lead into something bigger and whatnot, because I think them two would make a good team. Speaking of Miss Quill, she was an awesome character. Like, you couldn't help but love her. Whatever views you have for her, she was just a fun character to enjoy, and I really loved her. She was, you know, she could be that character who felt, you know, annoyed or whatnot, or repulsed by, I don't know, sympathetic human emotions, but she was fun to watch. Like, whatever her reaction, like, last episode, like, she was like, if this is another referendum. But this is why I think episode 7 was really, really, really fun to watch as well, because, you know, throughout it, she was just a highlight with her, you know, with her comments, and it was just fun to watch. So I love Miss Quill so much, and I can't wait to, you know, I want her to be in Doctor Who. That's all I'm going to say. I think Class was 8 out of 10, if anything. 8.8, I'd say. I think everything was good. The story overall was pretty amazing for Series 1. It was something that comfortably filled the void for Doctor Who's missing year, because obviously there was no Doctor Who this year. But I think Class really did pick up the mantle in terms of absence, and really has delivered. So I hope there's Series 2, because it deserves it. It was a fantastic Series 1. Everyone who played their part for the main cast and whatnot, they played them exceptionally, and it was an amazing sight to see. They were so amazing in their role, so that was all well and good. So yes, Class Series 1, definitely great stuff. So there's that. So yeah, that's my review of Class. I hope you guys, if you have anything else to say, if you, I don't know, state your opinion. State if you liked it, if you didn't like it, what you didn't like about it, what you did like about it, and what you hope to see for Series 2 apart from Weeping Angels, because yay! Weeping Angels hyped. I'm still hyped about that. Until then, you can check my Class Series 1 reaction. All 8 episodes are up there, and yeah, I suggest you go to BBC iPlayer. I think that all 8 episodes are still up there. If you haven't seen Class, but go watch it, and you can check out my reactions if you want to after that. You can also check out my reaction to Nico Rosberg, the F1 2016 champion, retiring. It was a pretty shocking deal, and you can, you know, find out my thoughts about it and who might replace him. You can also subscribe to my media links and subscribe to my channel. I will see you guys next time. I hope you take care of yourselves. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I will see you guys next time. Toodles!